This is what I'm going to show you how to make in this video. So as always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. You can get this full entire template that I just showed you. All the individual samples, MIDI, and presets are available right at the top of the description on my website. It's just $5. This is really accessible, but it's a really accessible way to get some of the highest quality samples for this hard trance style on the market. So if you guys enjoy what you hear, go grab that. If you don't, just grab it. Support me. I make a ton of videos every single day, and this really helps keep me going. Plus, it's going to help you guys immediately take your tracks to the next level right now, today. So if you want to make your best music, click the link at the top of the description, grab it, enjoy, and let's dive in. Alright, so we're at 152 BPM, a bit faster, it works well for this style. And the first thing we have is going to be the kick bass. Now, it's a pretty classic hard trance style kick bass. And right off the bat, the reason why I'm showing you the kick and the bass at the same time is you want to kind of treat these as one thing. Obviously, it's going to come from different layers. Like, you can't really generate the bass line with the kick, right? Like, you're going to have a synth for that. But you want to kind of treat it like one thing. And so, like, when you make this, like, when you make a track like this, I always start with just the kick, and then you bring the bass in over that. So, for the kick, it's made with two layers. So, we've got one, which is the low and mid-range. So you can see it's like a really nice punchy kick. I tuned it to the bass note as well. And then this one, which we have just kind of like the clicky mids and highs from. And you can see if you layer those together using the EQ3 like that, this is a really great way to get a very full sounding kick without any processing. There's no saturation, drum bus, compression, EQ, anything that's going to mess it up. It's just like two samples, one's in the mid range, one's in the low end, playing together on top of each other, and it works great. So we got that, and you notice that's kind of like the loudest thing in the track as well. And then we have the bass line. So the bass is made with two layers. So we have this, which is like the actual like bass, and then we actually have a 909 kick, which I'm going to describe what that's doing in a moment. So obviously the bass is what you want to start with. This is made with operators. So what you're going to do is you're basically creating this super fat waveform here. We can see we've got no FM happening, but there's a saw wave, a sine wave, and a square wave playing at the same time. So you just get this extremely full fat thing. And then we got a low pass filter, and that's got a hard shaper on it. So that's making it a bit fatter. And also cutting out the highs so you get just those really full lows and mids. And then that's really all you need. The only other processing is there's this utility, which if you look at this, you can see that's what's creating like the side chain kind of sound, making it bounce off of the kick. I like doing it this way because it's a little bit more controllable with these kinds of basses. And then also just this EQ, cutting everything below 30 hertz, which you really can't hear too much down there. But it's just cutting out the stuff that would still get in the way of mastering and headroom in the track. So obviously this bass is very full, but it doesn't really have that mid-range until we add this layer. So that's where this 909 comes in. What it is, it's a 909 kick, a very long one, I'll add. And then you can see I've actually tuned it to be in key with the other bass. Very important, because if you don't tune this, like when you just drop the 909 on, you're going to hear it's going to be like this weird like warbling thing. You have to get it really tightly in tune with your bass, or else it's not going to work. Like if I turn that back to the default, see, there's the warbling. Doesn't sound good. So got that in tune, and then it's got a tiny short reverb going into this pretty harsh saturator. You can see, yeah, it's really strong. So there's without the reverb. And with it, you can hear why we have that. Even though it might seem a bit odd, it kind of like adds a little bit more of a texture to it. And almost like makes it fit better with the bass going into that saturator. And then the only other effects on this are just another utility doing that same sidechain thing I showed you. And then this EQ8 here, which is cutting out the low end so it'll fit with the other bass. And then we have the rest of the drums. Now these are very simple, and this is something you want to keep in mind. It's only 4 layers of extra drums on top of the kick and the bass. And the reason for this is because when you get this big, fast, loud, raging track like this, if you have too much drums, like let's say you try to go and, okay, like for example, we have a rave loop doing like some shakers. If you try to go and then go, okay, well I'm going to put a shaker on top of that, and it's going to be like only on the 16th notes, pretty soon you're just going to create a mess. Like with this really heavy, fast stuff, it can get messy quickly. So if you do too many layers, especially with the drums, that's when it really starts to fall apart. So you just want like, you know, simple, fat hi-hat, nice clap snare, and then a bit of percussion in the form of this rave loop. So the hi-hat is 2 layers. You can see no processing. Just 2 fat hi-hats. One gives you a ch and one gives you a tss. And that's important too, because the thing is, like, you could just try to, you know, like let's say you want your hi-hat to have more ch to it. Well, a lot of times I've seen people take like something like this and then try to add like some saturation or drum bus or something. And you could do that, but it's never going to be as clean as if you just take this and then layer it with a ch. Right, so we got that. We have our clap snare, which is this fat clap, which you can see I pitched down and I high passed it and I made it shorter, and then I'm distorting it. And that's what gives you that nice big, because the thing is, like, this needs to be kind of like an even punch with your kick. Right? Like if you have a little like if it's dunk, it's not gonna work. It needs to be dunk. Like it needs to be like equal with that. So that's how you can make that really punch. And then the rave loop. And I'm actually doing something new. I've never shown you guys this before, but sometimes it works well. It really just depends. It's not something that you're gonna do just like every time, but sometimes this works really well, which is side chaining this to the hi-hat. In particular, not the whole hi-hat, just this layer, the shorter one. And the reason for this, I'll just show you the difference, is if I turn this off and then on. See how you can hear the main hi-hat a lot more now? It's because this rave loop is really good, but it had a really loud transient right there where the hi-hat was hitting. So I just sidechained into that hi-hat, problem solved. Then we have the main lead. So here's the pattern. And we're actually in the key of B minor, but there's one note which is breaking it. Right? So here, like if you look at this musically, we're using our root note, the 5th, the 6th, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, another root note up top, a 6th, a 5th, a 4th, and then this C is where it breaks the scale. By having that one note that is not technically in the scale, right? Which is just one note up from the root note. And the fact that it's all in key until we get to this one moment where it goes da-na-na, and it really like hits you. That note really stands out there. And it's a perfect use of that. So in this style, you're not always going to stay in key. Like you can throw in that one note that breaks the scale. Another popular one would be like one note down from your root note. That also gives you that cool like evil hard trance techno thing. But I like this one. And see, it's also that resolution at the end. The way you go, it goes down. And then when it hits that at the end, it's really satisfying because this is like yeah, you can hear that. It's like that evil note and then resolving back down to the root note. So, and also the other thing here is eighth notes. There's no 16 notes. It's just very like dun 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 dun. Because when you get so fast like this, if you start trying to do too much with 16th notes, it's going to get like kind of lost. But with this main lead, just a nice do-do-do-do-do-do works really well at this tempo. Now, for the sound on this one, it's a square wave with a little bit of pulse width, and then just some unison, and then a low pass filter with an envelope. Pretty simple, but then we're distorting it. So there's without that. And then with it. You can hear it just like crunching that up and making it really hard. It works well. It gives it a good texture, and it goes well with that kind of like evil melody too. You know, this is an example of the sound design and the notes coming together to kind of like create what you want. Then we have some echo, a bit of reverb, actually some drum bus to make it even fatter and just hit a bit harder. A compressor, which is sidechaining it to the kick, but the secret here is we're only sidechaining it to that high layer. Like how we had the kick separated into 2 layers. I find if you just sidechain it to the high layer by going in here, and then you can select just that, it gets like a really clean sidechain that you can control a lot easier. And then finally we just have a high pass filter with a little boost in the high end. Then we have this trance gate pad. So this is playing the chord progression, right? You can hear this. It goes really nicely with the lead, actually. Even though the bass is just kind of a constant, like, one note, because with the bass, you really just want it to be like that steady bass. So that's why you're not really going to change the progression with the bass. Right? Like, if you change the note on that, like, if you try to make it follow this chord progression, when it goes up or down, the bass wouldn't be as fat, and your track would start to fall apart. So that's why you want your bass to just be one note, but then this pad is essentially the chord progression. So you can still have a chord progression going while having that one heavy bass note, and then you can have what you're going to get when that lead plays together with it. Which obviously, like, they work together musically. So, we look at this musically. Basically what we're doing here is this B minor chord, right? We got our root note, our fifth, another root note, a minor third, and then a fifth. So literally just the basic notes of a B minor triad. It goes up to the sixth. And then we have here this minor fourth chord. So we have our fourth, which is E, the fifth of that, another E, the minor third of that, and then another fifth. So again, just a basic E minor triad with some extra octaves. And then at the end here, it goes down to this G major. And if you look here, this note, it's like a ninth. So really, the way you write this, it comes down to like defining what the bottom notes are going to be. Like I always figure that out first, what the actual chords are. And then it's just notes that are in the scale pretty much. And just kind of walking around that and creating this progression. For the sound, so what this is, it's a saw wave with a bunch of unison inside of a wavetable. Pretty simple. And then we're doing the trance gate using the gate here. So the way you do this, the way you get this kind of trancey sound that you hear a lot, is you're going to take a gate, and then what you need to do is you have an operator layer down here. That's what this muted operator is, where it's just white noise, and you're going to create a MIDI clip, and that's the pattern. Usually these simple patterns work better. If you just pick like a half note, like see how this is like a half note in length and then it just repeats? Pick like a simple pattern that long. And then again, it's just a bit of a white noise inside of operator. Make sure the notes aren't touching each other also, so you actually get that. And then you're going to mute that. And then you're on this wavetable. That's what you're going to sidechain the gate to. And then the last steps to this that a lot of people don't talk about, I'll actually just do it from scratch now to show you. So let's get another gate down here. So we're going to open it up. We're going to sidechain it. This is what your gate's going to look like by default. We're going to sidechain it to the operator. And then see, it's not just going to do it right away. So you have to do a few things. The first thing you're going to do is turn the return down to 0 so that these two lines just touch each other. And then you're also going to turn the release and the floor all the way down. And this is just going to give you like a really, really clean trance gate. Because if you don't touch those, like, you can leave the return open. You could not mess with these and it would still eventually work. But this is how you really get that tight, like, just simple, clean trance gate where it's not got like some weird release thing happening. It's just like exactly what you want. Just like as long as that operator is playing a note, you will hear this. So then once you have those dialed in, all you have to do is just dial in the threshold. That's what's going to do the amount basically. And there we go. So that's how it's done. Again, it's actually a very simple thing to do, but that's how you can do that effect inside of Ableton. Then we just have a bit of echo. It's being sidechained to the kick. Again, just top layer. And then we have a high pass filter. And then the last layer down here is this little arpeggio, which I'll play this with all the other notes so you can hear. So this is just kind of like this counter melody, this little arp, you know. It goes well with everything else. You want to make sure these all can be played together. But probably like when you're actually making the track, you know, maybe the arrangement will be something like this. Like maybe first you have the part where it's just all the drums and the bass and the lead. Then you'd bring in like the pad. And then the next part is where you take out the lead and then bring in this arp. Right, and you can hear that's gonna make like a nice transition in the track. And this, so what this is doing is it's following the progression, right? You can see the root notes are all just that same progression. Root note, fourth, sixth. And then we're just changing the top notes. It's like this, like here for example, okay, so we're going root note, up to the root note, and then the minor third. Then it goes up to the fourth, and the sixth. And then this is the same as what it was in the beginning again, but the root note is different. And then the actual sound on this one, it's made with wavetable. We got a saw wave and a square wave with some sync and some pulse width. And then a low pass filter with this really plucky envelope. You can see some shimmer unison, a bit of echo, high pass, and then it's being sidechained to the kick. And yeah, so that is gonna be it for this one. Enjoy, guys. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, literally every single thing from this video is available right down there at the top of the description for just $5. It's really accessible and affordable, and it's a great way to get the highest quality template for this style of hard trance techno on the market. Don't miss out, guys, while it's still available. Again, this is a super great deal. It's just designed so that you guys can instantly get something right now that's very accessible, that can take your tracks to the next level today. Thank you so much for the support, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.